Joining me now, the great Kellyanne Conway, former counselor to President Trump, host of Here's the Deal on Fox Nation. And if that weren't enough, Miranda Devine, ace New York Post columnist, host of Pod Force One, and a Fox News contributor. Ladies, thank you very much. I know the building stuff is really great. We heard him speak in New York years ago, how he could do the same thing for America. Kellyanne, regarding this whole, Obama, Russia hoax, Russiagate, and what Tulsi Gabbard has done, blowing the whistle. How does this affect politics? What does this mean?
It affects politics hugely because if people say, well, move on, that was 8 years ago, we can't. We spent $40 million of taxpayer money on the Mueller investigation. The major networks and the other two cable stations, Larry, spent 2,000 minutes in coverage. That approximates 2 whole days out of a human being's life. So they had entire divisions devoted to Russia collusion. I think what people need to look at are 2 things. 1 is the timeline, and 2 is the players. What's the timeline? Long before there was destroy and imprison Trump and get Trump, there was stop Trump. And they didn't think Trump needed to be stopped until he actually won. They never expected Hillary Clinton to lose and him to win. So they went into overdrive almost immediately. But where they can do it, where no one's looking, is behind the scenes, in the Oval, at the CIA, at the FBI, at ODNI. And I put in my book 3 years ago, Tom, Joanna, your friend, and I, in the West Wing, we unspooled this whole thing because a lot of this was declassified in 2019. We concluded the following. Clapper's in big trouble. He absolutely lied under oath. I defy him to say otherwise. Brennan's in trouble. Comey's in trouble. Brennan, to his credit, did push back on some of the CIA agents, 5 of them, saying this was Russia collusion and Putin wanted Trump to win. Larry, what Director Gabbard has unspooled so far is that there were 4 or 5 sources that were relied upon. The Steele dossier was the most credible one. Imagine that. The Steele dossier, really? The most credible. The other 3 were unmarked emails.
But didn't the senior staff of the career guys at the CIA object to this, remaking of this assessment? And Steele was an informant who was fired. He was big phony. He was on the payroll. He was on Clinton's payroll.
DNC.
He was on the FBI payroll, the DNC payroll. I mean, Miranda, nobody's written more about this than you have down through these years. Tulsi, I don't know, maybe it's just ringing the bell. It's a massive reminder. But this thing has to have consequences. There has to be accountability. I guess Obama is clear, but these other guys are not clear.
No, and it's a very different thing to be facing federal prosecutors investigating you. And as we know, and as we've seen in the past, particularly with Donald Trump, with the J6 defendants, they can manufacture charges anywhere. Now, there has to be an element of truth in there, I guess, and it all gets tested in court. But the process is the punishment. And I no doubt these guys will all get free legal counsel, unlike Donald Trump. They'll have no problem having lawyers lining up to defend them. But it's still a stressful situation. And what's important in the process is that the American people see the evidence as it comes out. And even if it doesn't reach the bar of them going to jail, it is so evil, so wrong, and did so much damage. As Tulsi Gabbard said, it was a years-long coup against Donald Trump. It sabotaged the first 2 years of his first presidency. He still, I mean, you were there.
Yes.
He still managed to do a lot that was good. The economy was singing.
Yes.
And then, of course, COVID came along, and that was another situation where intelligence was manufactured, was misused, and weaponised against him. So his whole first term was destroyed by these deep staters, and I think he has every right to expect that there is accountability, and the American people expect it. Thus far, we've just had congressional investigators, which are really toothless tigers. The federal prosecutors.
Justice Department, Mamdani, she's a wonderful lady, but she's very tough.
Yep.
She's very tough.
Yes.
You know she will go as far as she can possibly go, especially with these others, Brennan and company.
And within the law.
Within the law.
Yeah.
So another topic, though, we're just going to run through this. I want to keep you guys here. This guy, Mamdani the commie, as Trump called him, okay, everybody's favorite guy. So the Democratic leaders, they won't endorse him. And there was a good story in the New York Post today how Jeffrey, the Democratic leader, he says as long as Mamdani's there, they can't win the House. they cannot take the House back. And I want to add one other thing. I don't want to let this go. Where's Mamdani? He's in Uganda.
Uganda.
For a wedding, his wedding reception, some kind of belated wedding reception. He was married in Uganda. His wife's still out there. From what I gather, she does not accompany him. What's wrong with getting married in America or Kellyanne, New York City, if you're running for mayor? Is Uganda like a destination for weddings? There are a lot of wedding planners in Uganda.
I haven't been invited
I'm just trying to figure this out because this goes with the story. This is just a ludicrous story to begin with. This is more ludicrous.
It just also tells you he's just a concoction. He's a creation, but he's a dangerous one. And he also is a great representation of the Democratic Party and where they're headed.
Yeah.
They are increasingly tiptoeing towards anti-Semitism as a party. And I don't care, this one's Jewish, that one's Jewish. Then call him out for his anti-Semitism. Jamal Bowman lost in his primary. Cori Bush lost in her primary. These were two squad members. They didn't do squad except one pulled the fire alarm. But they were both very anti-Semitic, and AIPAC went right after them. They lost their primaries. We need more of that. Look what's happening in the city of New York today, without Mamdani here, is in Uganda. Columbia University totally capitulated to President Trump. Why? $221 million settlement, Larry and Miranda, because of anti-Semitism. It is the largest anti-Semitism settlement in the history of our country. And Columbia says we didn't have to admit guilt. We know what you're guilty of. You're guilty of making Jewish students feel unsafe and faculty members feel like they are not, that they're second-class citizens. And they have pledged to do better. But this is almost $250 million to admit that in the nation's most Jewish city, you could not have an Ivy League institution that wasn't anti-Semitic. This is what's going on, and Mamdani must be stopped. Sure, he's a socialist, he's an anti-capitalist, but he's an anti-Semite.
But damn it, yes, 100%. Said it many times myself. But Miranda, these Democrats are like crawling under rocks, basically. They are afraid to come out and just rip him completely, which is what they should do, but they won't do it.
Well, I mean, if Nancy Pelosi wasn't willing to rip into AOC and the rest of the squad, I don't think Hakeem Jeffries has a hope. And I think, look, it's a terrible thing for New York. Polls are showing that because the sensible vote, the anti-Mamdani vote, is split 3 ways, that he's going to win.
Curtis is only a couple points down.
He's doing
Curtis,
better.
They're yelling at me to get out. I don't want to get out. But Curtis is only a couple points down.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And people hate Cuomo.
Yeah.
And they're going to learn to hate Mamdani the
Can't be an
commie.
anti-policing, anti-law enforcement
Mamdani the commie is in Uganda getting married, or whatever he is. I think it's extraordinary. I looked at it. I read it in the Post this morning. I said, oh, my God, I got to get it. They're yelling at me. Miranda Devine, Kellyanne Conway, fabulous.